Madam Chair and Vice Mayor, you're live.
Thank you. Welcome to the Economic Development and Equity Subcommittee. Today is February 23rd, 2022. I am calling this meeting to order. Do we have call to the public? I believe not.
There is no call to the public.
Thank you. Approval of the EDE minutes for January 26, 2022. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay, I think I'll put you a second. I saw your list. I saw you talking. There's a motion and there's a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Item 2 and 3 are for consent. I just have some questions.
Vice Mayor Pastor, members of the subcommittee, we actually have item number 1 as well for consent, HUD annual actions. We do have staff here to speak on item 2, the HUD Section 18 disposition application, and item 3, Housing Department CIP program update. Which items, Councilman, would you like staff to speak to?
I'm sorry, but my agenda states item 2, HUD annual action, and item 3, HUD Section 18 disposition application.
Okay.
Mine too.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Vice Mayor. I have one that is listed incorrectly. So with us for item number 2 for HUD annual actions, we have Housing Director Titus Matthew and Assistant Housing Director Aubrey Gonzalez here to answer questions, Vice Mayor.
Okay, I just wanted to know, I know that you briefed me, but I just needed more background on item 2, just briefly, because it says annual action, 5-year plan, housing choice voucher administration plan and missions, and continue occupancy policy and capital fund program. I just need some background.
Good morning, Vice Mayor and members of the subcommittee. I'm going to turn it over to Assistant Housing Director Aubrey Gonzalez to go through this request this morning.
Good morning, Vice Mayor, members of the subcommittee. This is an annual action request as part of our HUD compliance. The department does submit a 5-year agency plan, which covers 2020 through 2025. And then each year we are required to submit to HUD an annual version to that plan that essentially lays out our roadmap for the different programs and services that we will be offering in that year. So this is a recommendation to the Assisted Housing Governing Board for approval to adopt that plan as proposed and submit to HUD.
Okay, that's what I just needed. Just needed some background. So thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you. Item 3, disposition application.
Vice Mayor, members of the subcommittee, for this item we have Titus Matthew, Housing Director, and also we're going to bring up Leah Ray. It's going to be, okay, all righty. So again, Assistant Director Aubrey Gonzalez.
Vice Mayor, members of the subcommittee, if you're looking for background on this particular item for the Section 18 disposition application, the Housing and Urban Development Department allows a Section 18 disposition application program, which essentially takes scattered site single-family homes that we are then able to sell to qualified buyers in the market. And so we are proposing an application to HUD for vacant units, up to 90 units, seeking Assisted Housing and Governing Board approval to submit that application to HUD.
Okay, so we're going to dispose homes back out into the community. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's correct, Vice Mayor.
Okay, can I ask why we wouldn't keep the homes or put the homes in a trust?
Yes, so Vice Mayor, members of the subcommittee, as far as the community land trust concept that we've been discussing at previous meetings, we have a secondary program authorized under HUD, the Section 32 program. Those would be the homes that would potentially be considered for contribution to the community land trust at the direction of Mayor and Council and approval by HUD. The Section 18 program under HUD does not currently allow them to be transferred in such a manner, and we would need to seek HUD direction if that's something you wanted us to request. However, as far as why we are not keeping these in our portfolio, this program began in 1990 as a scattered site single-family homes program. However, it's intended to help public housing residents become homeowners. So it's a step towards that. And so part of that process is then to dispose of the homes once they are vacant, so we are not displacing any residents. So if a tenant currently has a lease in there, once their lease is up and the home has been identified for participation in the Section 18 program for disposition to a homeowner, that is part of this package.
Okay. And how are they categorized, or how are they chosen for disposition?
So we have a portfolio of homes in our scattered sites portfolio, and so staff goes through and assesses when the leases are coming up, what type of improvements are necessary to rehabilitate the homes potentially, and which ones should be slated for market disposition or to qualified homeowners that are able to purchase the homes.
Okay. And then how many homes are we looking at?
So in this request, Vice Mayor and members of the subcommittee, we are requesting for approval to apply to HUD for up to 90 homes, and we have remaining in our portfolio, or I should say in total in our portfolio, 189. And again, those 189 are distributed between that Section 32 program I mentioned and the Section 18 program.
All right. Thank you so much. Do I have a motion for 2 and 3?
So moved.
That Councilwoman Stark, and a second?
Second.
Councilwoman Ansari. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Item 4 and item 5 are for information only. Does anybody want item 4 or item 5? All righty. Item 6 is development agreement with Mayo Clinic, Arizona for installation of public infrastructure improvements.
Vice Mayor and members of the subcommittee, we have coming to the table our Community and Economic Development Director, Christine Mackey, and Claudia Whitehead, Program Manager. And with that, I'll turn it over to Chris Mackey.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. We are here today to talk with you about a potential development agreement with Mayo Clinic, Arizona for a very exciting project they are considering moving forward with. Just by way of background, Mayo Clinic did come to Phoenix in 1996. It was a 1995 national site selection. They did select the campus in North Phoenix. The city did enter into a development agreement with Mayo in 1996, and that development agreement is still active today. That development agreement required a reimbursement of planning and permitting fees with construction sales tax created by the project. In 2014, they added a program and a new investment called proton beam therapy. That addition is focused cancer care that happens on the eastern end of the campus. And in 2020, and still under construction now, Mayo did announce and has under construction a $748 million expansion. It's virtually doubling the size of the campus in inpatient beds, in surgical suites, in emergency and other types of facilities. This facility was privately funded by Mayo, as was all of the other facilities. Immediately adjacent to the Mayo Clinic Hospital in the land that you see in the lighter color here today, state land owns all of the land in this particular area. And in December of last year, they did take forward a 228-acre auction for the land that you see in the lighter color. Now in yellow, it is south of Loop 101, east of 56th Street, west of 64th Street, and it kind of doglegs around to the reach. At the bottom of your picture in the brown color, that is the reach, which is a Bureau of Reclamation, a flood control waterway where all of the water flows to move water and in this particular area. As I mentioned, the land you see in yellow is approximately 228 acres that the State Land Department took out for auction. And I'm pleased to tell you that Mayo Clinic Arizona was the successful bidder of the land at that auction. They have come forward with plans to build a project that they are calling Discovery Oasis. And you can see the Mayo Hospital existing today in the background and the land between Mayo and the 101 in the foreground. City staff did start working with Mayo and Arizona State University and the Arizona State Land Department on visioning this particular area as early as 2011 to create an additional biosciences corridor, a jobs-generating research and development corridor. It was envisioned to be home to later stage life sciences, medical device, technology, healthcare-related companies, and other related industries. And that is what Mayo Clinic Arizona has announced that they are moving forward with today. It's similar to the project that is known as Discovery Square in Rochester, across from their facility in Rochester. It is about 16 blocks of life sciences businesses and partners to Mayo and other types of amenities and industries related to Mayo in furthering life science efforts in Mayo Clinic. Mayo is proposing to build a minimum of 500,000 square feet, not less than $250 million in new capital investment, and creating 2,000 high-wage jobs on this expansion site. So we kind of think of it as Mayo 1 is where the hospital and their expansions are today, and this is Mayo 2. I think it's easiest for us when we think of it that way. This is the expansion land. As you can imagine, in this area, it's not seen a lot of development over time, and there is significant amounts of public infrastructure that is needed. It is the half-street construction of both 56th Street and Mayo Boulevard. I think it's important to note that the city built the south half of Mayo Boulevard with Mayo in 1996, and that's been functioning as the thoroughfare for Mayo since that time. It will require the reconstruction of the intersection of 64th Street and Mayo. Currently, 64th Street doesn't go south of Mayo Boulevard, so that reconstruction and reconfiguration of that intersection is required. Upsizing significant of main extensions, upsizing and connections for water and sewer in the area to service the new properties in the area. And as you can imagine, since this is the area covered by Rawhide Wash, which is a program that the council approved in 2021, significant improvements to the drainage system, improvements to traffic signals to account for all of the new employees in the area, and improvements to our transit system in working with Jesus Sapien and his team, looking at adding additional bus bays, additional bus pickups, and then improvements to a bridge in the area that's 64th Street across the reach. And I said improvements, it requires the construction in the future of that bridge that is planned for 64th Street. Staff is recommending to City Council to enter into a development agreement with Mayo Clinic Arizona with the terms that you see proposed here today. With Mayo, their obligations would be to construct the half street of 56th Street and the north half of Mayo Boulevard. They would be required to construct any other roadway improvements in the area that are required by their development, construct the water and sewer improvements for the surrounding area, construct the drainage improvements to allow the water to continue to flow for the reach. They would be required to comply with Title 34, which is public bidding whenever we are doing reimbursement with any sales tax dollars that is required by Arizona Revised Statute. I mentioned earlier the bridge that would connect 64th Street over the reach to Bell Road. They would be required to put a $4.6 million contribution into escrow towards that 64th Street bridge, and then dedicate and convey to the city all of the completed public streets, infrastructure, and easements once approved and accepted by the city. Staff is proposing the following terms for the city. We would have a reimbursement term of 35 years. As you know, that is longer than we typically do our agreements for. There is so much infrastructure that is required in this area, and Mayo is a very thoughtful, visionary builder and a good partner for the city and for Arizona State University, and we feel that this is a long-term build-out of this area. we would reimburse after the project and the infrastructure is complete, a maximum of $40 million from sales tax that is created by the project. No additional funds would be brought in for the reimbursement of that infrastructure. And the annual reimbursements would be based on the tax and revenue generated solely by the Mayo projects. In addition to the $40 million maximum from the sales tax, staff would recommend a 3-year reimbursement up to $1 million out of the Strategic Economic Development Fund or one of the other economic development funds that exists within our department for the drainage on the south side of Mayo improvements. You'll remember I told you that the city built the south side of Mayo Boulevard in 1996. We now find with the drainage in the area that the drainage on the south side is inadequate to match up with the north side. So Mayor's proposing to replace the drainage that we put in 1996 with drainage that would be adequate to handle the new flows that have been identified through all of our work together. We would reimburse them with a separate fund over that 3-year period of time, since this was infrastructure that the city had already put in as part of a previous development agreement. And then, Madam Chair, members of the committee, you'll remember that we did submit for a Tiger grant to complete the construction of the 64th Street Bridge. We were unsuccessful, our streets department was unsuccessful in that grant opportunity, but we would all agree that we would continue to look for federal grants that provide for regional construction of the 64th Street Bridge. If we don't find any federal grants, we would maintain the $4.6 million that would be Mayo's proportional share of the contribution towards that bridge. Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, staff does recommend the Economic Development and Equity Subcommittee move forward to the City Council to provide staff direction to negotiate and enter into a development agreement with Mayo for public infrastructure improvements. And with that, we're happy to take any questions you might have.
Councilwoman Stark.
Thank you. I probably should have asked you this yesterday, Chris, when you were briefing me. On their development, are they going to have any commercial, like restaurants or grocery stores, or are they going to rely on the Scottsdale 101 and Desert Ridge?
Madam Chair, Councilwoman Stark, they are in the visioning process right now of what the rest of Super Block 3 would look like. Okay. So they are looking at all options, but I will share with you that Super Block 6, which is just to the west of this on 56th Street, is an area that there is a plan for additional commercial, additional restaurants, additional opportunities there that would be immediately adjacent. So I don't want to say that they won't have restaurants on their site. They're just early in the visioning process, but Super Block 6 will provide for restaurants. We want to make sure that there is adequate amenities for all the employment that will be in the area.
Great. I think that's great. It looks like a wonderful development. Mayo has been a wonderful partner with the City of Phoenix and ASU. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris, I have a question. Could you go back to slide 7? I think it's 7.
We will.
And then I have speakers that only if needed. So.
Yes, Madam Chair.
I think it's the 3-year drainage.
Yes.
That's where you stated that in 96, we put in drainage in there. Is that correct?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay. My question is, there was supposed to be infrastructure built through, I want to say, either the water department or public works. And there was a critical vote on making sure infrastructure went up to Mayo and that we were able to move water and things through. So could that help?
Madam Chair, as we look at the drainage and yes, that critical infrastructure in the area with our water and wastewater and drainage and other things needed in the area, This will allow the opportunity for the north side of Mayo, for that area, Rawhide Wash that you're speaking of, and the drainage that would come through that area, that critical infrastructure. This will attach to that infrastructure and allow the flow to continue at the cubic feet per second that it would be received on the north side. It'll allow it to pass through on the south side and move on to the reach. So yes, that would allow for that to happen.
Okay. And then the federal grants dollars regarding the bridge,
Yes, ma'am.
that to me is considered infrastructure of what we're receiving. So I would see how all my colleagues would support at least some funding towards that.
Yes, ma'am. That is additional infrastructure that would benefit the entire community, not just one or two particular projects, but all of the citizens and all of the businesses in the area, far and wide, would benefit from that bridge.
And do you know the cost?
Madam Chair, at most recent cost, as an update that I received from our streets department, it was approximately $20 million.
Okay. All right. Do I have a motion?
I will move to approve the recommendations of our city staff.
Second.
Councilwoman Stark gave me a first. Anasari gave me a second. My question is, I have public comments, but it's only if needed. I'm not sure if they would like to speak or not. I'm not hearing anything, so I'm going to move this. Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. The next item is development agreement with Scannell Properties for installation of public infrastructure and public space improvement. Chris?
Madam Chair, thank you. I'll remain with you. Chris Mackey, Director of Community and Economic Development with the City of Phoenix. With me today is Nathan Wright, Deputy Director of Business Attraction. We are here today to talk with you about a staff recommendation for development agreement with Scannell Properties along the Congressman Ed Pastor Loop 202 freeway, particularly in the subsection that is known as the South Mountain Technology Corridor. And we're excited today to talk to you about the first of the developments coming into this area with job generating. So I'm going to turn it over to Nathan to walk you through the project. Nathan?
Thanks, Chris. Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, you'll recall back in November of 2019, Director Mackey, along with ADOT, was presenting at a policy meeting. During that time, there was a lot of excitement about the new Congressman Ed Pastor Loop 202 freeway that opened the day after Christmas in 2019. And over the past couple of years, everyone that I know that has discovered this beautiful 22-mile stretch of freeway has fallen in love with it. It connects regionally from the East Valley to the West Valley, and in anticipation of the opening of that freeway, we named this our newest employment corridor, the South Mountain Technology Corridor. And over the past couple years, there's been a lot of activity, retail and commercial-wise at 59th Avenue and Baseline, as well as multiple single-family and multifamily projects, primarily on the east side of the freeway. But we're most excited about the potential for jobs in this corridor. At build-out, we anticipate 50 to 80,000 of those. And an interesting statistic that really jumps out is that over 60% of the workforce in the West Valley travels to other parts of the valley for their jobs. And that's important, especially in today's day and age as we work with employers. They're trying to attract their employees back to the office. And this is an ideal location for that, rich with amenities and housing, as well as beautiful right at the foot of the Estrella and South Mountain Regional Park. What do we mean when we say South Mountain Technology Corridor? Really focused on advanced manufacturing and technology. And recently that's meant the semiconductor industry. We've seen over 70% of our activity in this area. And there's not too many areas on the planet that you can be positioned between two major global semiconductor manufacturers like TSMC and Intel. And we found with most of the suppliers for TSMC that they also have a relationship with Intel. So this is an ideal location for those companies. We've worked with multiple developers that have taken down as much acreage as they can to build corporate campuses and business parks. Frankly, it's been a challenge with all the residential activity. It's a very competitive market out there. as well as some of our usual suspects, data centers, aerospace defense, advanced business services, and emerging technologies like solar manufacturing, battery manufacturing, and electric vehicle manufacturing. I just want to note, though, that during the pandemic, we have not seen a lot of speculative office development here or throughout the world. But we feel with some recent announcements that we've had, as well as the activity we're seeing, that is about to change, and this is an ideal location for some office. We've been purposeful how we've marketed the South Mountain Technology Corridor of late. We've been out in front of many site selectors and consultants pitching this area. In fact, recently we were in front of about 30 of them pitching this area. We've worked with our existing businesses and our partners here in the Valley at the Chamber, at GPEC, and at the state, at the ACA. And the message is out. They've really come to us now with opportunities. They could say this would be a great business that could locate in the 202. Early in the pandemic, we were approached by a developer, by Skinnell Properties. There was a lot of uncertainty at that time. And Skinnell had seen the opening of this freeway, and they were very intrigued by the technology corridor aspect. And we've gotten to know them over the past couple years, and they are a great developer. They have been around for a long time, very well capitalized, which is important because that allows them to push through some of the supply chain constraints that we see in this market. They have great relationships with multinational corporations, and they're going to bring all those relationships here off of the freeway and Dobbins Road. The Williams family owns approximately 240 acres. They farmed that for many, many years. And Skinnell really went to work with the community and with the Levine Village, understanding what they wanted. And the message was very clear that they did not want big box distribution. And we really would like to give a shout out to Alan Stevenson and his team. They worked with the Levine Village and Skinnell to come up with some great language that limits the use of distribution for a period of time. They were also sensitive to the finer aspects, the setbacks, the aesthetics of the buildings, and the trail system, and they incorporated all those throughout their project. And that first phase of that project will be 1.2 million square feet south of Dobbins and over 3 million square feet at build-out. In multiple buildings, 15 to 18 buildings. It could be multiple tenant buildings. We see historically low vacancy rates throughout the valley and with this product, and nearly $500 million in capital investment. The deal that we are proposing is that because Skinnell is the first developer in this area, there's a considerable amount of public infrastructure involved. This is a throwback to 50 to 60 years ago in Phoenix, where there's 2-lane roads and farmland. And Dobbins Road will need to be improved, as well as North and South Streets, 63rd and 67th Avenue, where there's no current roads. And we'd like to give a shout out also to Tom Remus and Martin Perez on our team, who did a great job making sure that there would be ability to bring the water and wastewater infrastructure through the freeway. So that's very important to this project. The deal points that we're proposing is to reimburse a portion of the construction tax and the lease tax for a period of 10 years with a maximum reimbursement of $7.5 million. And we are super excited to have some great brand new Class A industrial buildings in this area. And with that, I'll turn the time over to Chris.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, staff does recommend the Economic Development and Equity Subcommittee move approval to the full City Council for a development agreement with Skinnell Properties for public infrastructure. And with that, we're happy to take any questions you might have.
Okay, Councilwoman Stark. You're on mute.
I just wanted to thank CED for giving a shout out to planning and development. I appreciate that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Chairwoman, I have some comments as well.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Just a couple comments. I'm so excited about this. This is the beginning of the vision to create the South Mountain Technology Corridor. And I know that this is something that City Council, City staff as well as the Levine and Estrella communities have long desired, and now it's finally happening. As we know, technology corridors are attracted to, among other things, an area along or near a transportation corridor. And with the Congressman Ed Pastor Freeway Loop 202 completed in December 2019, this area has been more than ready for investment. As was mentioned during the presentation, unfortunately, the pandemic hindered the ability to quickly attract these technology companies. But it's just great that Scanel is now willing to do this. The majority of the companies that we're now seeing show an interest in this area, who are focused on advancing the knowledge economy industry, such as bioscience, advanced manufacturing, manufacturing of technology-related products, aerospace, data centers, and many others. And just fantastic that Scanel is moving forward with the first of these developments in this technology corridor. I think to be competitive, I've had many conversations with Chris about the need to have buildings constructed that are ready for occupancy, and this development agreement will help make this happen. So thanks again also to Scanel for their willingness to see the city's vision as well. As was mentioned, the zoning that the council heard in October 2021, Scanel has agreed to a 3-year moratorium on any distribution buildings as part of their project so that we can actually have time to showcase the South Mountain Technology Corridor to companies and attract jobs that we know are possible here. So this has been a big focus of mine since I started on council and have been working with economic development and planning when Alan was still the director on making sure that this happens. So if any tech companies out there are listening and looking for a new home, I think the welcoming nature of the Levine community is deep, and this will be a fantastic community for any high quality company that's looking for somewhere to go. So excited. And I think if it's okay, I'll motion to move this item per staff's recommendation.
Second.
There is a motion from Councilwoman Anasari and a second from Councilwoman Stark. I do have some comments. My comments are, this is for me a bittersweet situation. And as an Arizonan, the fact that we're losing our agriculture is something that I love near and dear to my heart, because we're losing that space and landscape. But knowing how growth is happening, I'm very much congratulate Councilwoman Ansari for looking at this vision. The other piece, Arizonan family, is the Williams family. And the Williams family is an anchor of our a history, a strong history of Arizona, especially in that area. And I'm just really surprised that they're giving up their voting rights with SRP. So I'm assuming they still have a lot more land that they will be able to sit on the board of SRP. But we have to move in times. We have to modernize ourselves. Chris, one of the questions I have is the developer. Is there a possibility to look at the architecture and beautify it and make it a landmark or a place mark of that area because of the rich history?
Madam Chair, that is such a great thought that you had. I think absolutely we'd be happy to work with Alan Stevenson's team and with the developer to really honor the history of the farming in the area and to make note of, to your point, it is such an incredibly rich founding farm family area, and I think that is a great thought. We'll be happy to visit with the developer and Mr. Stevenson's team on that and get a response back to you. Knowing the developer, I think he will be very, very appreciative of that comment and very willing to provide that.
Okay, thank you. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Final item, is there a call to the public? I don't think so.
No call to the public, Madam Chair.
Okay. We don't have anybody, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And then future items. I would like to see on a future item, the downtown, looking at downtown and looking at its plan and where we are. currently and what we need to do to move some of the items towards the future. Does anybody else have anything? Not here. I'm not hearing any. Meeting adjourned.